Hello everybody, you tuned back into Crackcore. I don't know what happened before, but the video just cut off. It just stopped recording on its own. So as you can tell, I was mid-sentence when the video stops recording. So here we are, we're back again. I'll just pick up where we left off. Part 2, so it seems. And where we left off was homosexual people being disinclined to accept that the transgender stuff is mixed in with, the lesbian, gay and bisexual, because ultimately the aforementioned are sexual preferences based upon who you are, naturally as a person, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a man attracted to men, a woman attracted to women, or either attracted to both, okay? It's about sexual preference based on your actual gender, which is male or female. All right, so that's where that comes from, and that's what that is. But you see, transgender is something completely different. It's entirely different, isn't it? Because if you think about it, being a transgender, it's about not being who you are. It's about being who you feel you are. But physically, as you are born, it's not who you are, is it? Because if you're a man, you're a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman. You can say that you identify as this or that based on what you feel like, but ultimately, if you were born a man and your genetic DNA code says you're a man, well then you're a man, a natural born man. You can then identify as being a woman, have a sex change, of course, and have people call you a woman. Not a problem. There's no issue. I don't see there being a problem. However, that becomes a personal accord between people. To say out and out that you are a man when you were born a woman, it's a grey area, isn't it? Because at the minute, the argument has gone so far from personal responsibility, where the main aspect of most things lie. It's your personal responsibility as a trans person to have conversation with somebody, like I did many years ago. I was friends with a trans woman, born a man, was basically a man, bar the fact she'd had breast implants, and asked to be called a woman. I said to this woman, what would you prefer me refer you as? A man or a woman? Would you prefer me to refer to you as he or she? And she said she. Therefore, I chose, out of courtesy to this person, because that's what this person preferred, to refer to her as a woman. That's about personal responsibility, about two people having an accord. And there's no aggression involved there, is there? There's two people living in acceptance of one another, and we can go about our daily business happily and be friends. It's not a problem there, is there? But you see, the argument nowadays has gone so far away from that personal responsibility, which is where dignity and all these other things lie. It's gone down the avenue of aggression and people being unable to accept what defines you as a man or a woman. Because ultimately, what defines you as a man or a woman, quite clearly, at least in the physical sense, is naturally your DNA code, your chromosomal fucking side of your genetic makeup. Now, that's beyond question, right? If somebody digs up your bones, they're going to say, this was a man, or this was a woman. We've done a DNA test. How do we know? The half of these Roman skeletons that we fucking dig up, Neanderthals, whatever, we don't know that these people identified as what their genetic code fucking says. We just say that's what they are because that's what the actual physical evidence says they are. Simple as that. That's what defines you. You're a man or a woman, guys. Okay? Man or woman. You can decide to be referred to as something else, and you can ask other people to refer to you as that, and other people can either agree or disagree, and that's their right. It is their right to choose. Whether that makes them a good person or a bad person is down to you, it's down to them, it's down to, I don't know, a whole bunch of other perspectives. But that's where it comes down to personal responsibility also, because it's somebody's right to decide whether or not they want to accept that, and it's also and whether they want to refer to you as such based on their own perceptions and opinions. Like I said, whether that makes them a good or a bad person is irrelevant. It's also the transgender person's right to be offended, should they so wish to be, or to say, okay, fair enough, we can all live in harmony, that's your choice, that's your fucking, I don't agree, and I no longer want to spend time with you, should that be their choice not to. You know, if they don't want to spend time with someone based on the fact they won't refer to them as what they choose to be referred to as, well then that's up to them, is it not? But it's about us, the people. As soon as there is an aggressive approach, forcing people, you know, taking their freedom away with regards to their language, which ultimately alters people's perceptions on a generational basis, it certainly will do as the years go by, which is ultimately the agenda. Because guess what? The people in the capstone don't give a fuck about gay, lesbian, straight. They don't give a fuck about trans people. All they care about is furthering their agenda. And if you look at where the trans movement pushes people, it's out of their own personal identity and into one that is more of a symbiosis, more of a assimilated identity where there is no male and female. And then you start to see the why I'm talking about this with regards to the fucking shattering of the, you know, the homestead. Because it's part of the agenda. Whether we care about trans rights or not is irrelevant, because these people don't. And what we have to accept is we're all being weaponized against one another. The amount of propaganda surrounding gay, lesbians, fucking transgenders, queer, whatever you fucking want to add to the list, we're all being weaponized against one another, which ultimately serves to further their agenda. So personal responsibility here and having a conversation with one another is the key. That's where we need to land on this. Just like I did all those years ago, you know, and just like many other people have done. It's up to us to pick and choose who we spend our time with. But you see, ultimately, having all of these, however many genders there is nowadays, I don't know that there are recognised. All that is, it's a personal mental perception of who you are, like of who you choose to be. You know, I mean, a lot of people make jokes and say that they can be, you know, identify as a fucking, someone said many years ago, you can identify as an attack helicopter. I use that reference point, and many other people do, quite clearly, because it's completely bizarre, isn't it? Let's face it, it's bizarre. Let's just be honest here. Now, you're not an attack helicopter, are you? No. you're actually not. But you can mentally identify as that and ask other people to refer to you as such. But you see, that's not a sexual preference. It's certainly not a sexual preference based upon who you are, male or female, therefore making you straight, lesbian or gay or bi. What it actually is something completely cognitive, something completely mental. And I don't mean mental fucking, loony. I just mean it's a mental thing. It's something to do with your personal brain perception of yourself. That's what that is. So why, then, is it lumped in with something that is hard fought for, with regards to sexual preference? Now, ultimately, I know about this because my mum is gay. My mum's a lesbian. Back in the day, growing up, in the 80s, things were still pretty tough for gay people. She had a war on her hands a long time before I was born. She had me when she was 27 years old, and before then, she had a war on her hands. You can imagine. She had me in 1983. She was 27. She was born in the fucking 50s. Can you imagine being a gay person growing up, knowing that you're gay? Because you're gay, right? You're born fucking gay. So, knowing that you're gay, living in that world, she had a war on her hands. And now, gay people can get married. Fucking hallelujah. Thank God for that. But it's taken an awful lot for gay rights to happen. And I fully am in support of gay rights, because if you are sexually attracted and want to live your life romantically with somebody of the same sex, you should be allowed to. Because who you're attracted to is totally fucking fine. That is something that isn't a cognitive choice. You don't fucking wake up one morning and say, actually, I think I'm gonna fucking, be gay today. You don't, do you? You're just attracted to who you're attracted to. We don't know why. We're just attracted to who we're attracted to. I'm a straight man. For as long as I can remember, I've been attracted to the opposite sex. I'm a straight guy. And I'm sure that for gay people, it's the exact same thing. For as long as they can remember, they've been attracted to the same sex. That is something that cannot be altered, and it cannot be taken away. You can't learn or unlearn being homosexual. You can't ungay yourself or unstraight yourself. Okay, right? This isn't something that we identify as. This is just simply something that we are. So I can agree that when you've got something that is of a mental disposition being lumped in with something that's not, I can see the frustration and the reasons why that this is the case. Because this is something that people have had to be fucking beaten up for. I've heard stories, my mum's told me stories. Jesus. People actively went out gay bashing, man. They actively went out hunting for gay people so they could beat them up simply for a sexual preference that they have no control over. It's not a choice. You're gay if you're gay, alright? Just like you're straight if you're fucking straight. So, this is horrendous, and it had to be fought for. You imagine the courage that people had to have to go out there and fight for something. Previous to this, they hid it from everybody. Imagine having to hide who you are. Alright? I can see why there are frustrations when you've got people out there making a choice to mentally project themselves and to perceive themselves as something and being lumped into something that isn't a choice. I can get the frustration there. And I must admit, I'd have to agree with those people. I'd have to agree with those gay folks that think that that's not necessarily the way it should be. That they ought to really have their own category, should they so wish to have a category or to be put into a box or a fucking category or whatever you want to call it. Because it's not the same. It's not the same thing at all. But again, you know, it's all sent to divide. It's sent to divide us and to keep us apart. Now, just talking about the trans stuff briefly on its own. You know, the way it's promoted, we've just kind of discussed that. But what is it? I've heard some folks say that it's more like a mental illness, with regards to the fact that you get certain aspects of body dysmorphia that make somebody look in the mirror and hate themselves no matter what they look like. Now, if you're a homosexual and you've also got body dysmorphia, let's just say, like my mum, you're a butch lesbian. That's what she was known as back in the day, and that's what I'll call her. I don't give a fuck if times have moved on and people don't say the word butch anymore. I don't care. That's what my mum was always referred to as. That's what she referred to herself as. So that's what I'm going to say. All right? Anybody offended by the term butch lesbian, go fuck yourself. I don't care. You know, have an opinion, that's fine, it's your right. There's nothing wrong with it. Anyway, butch lesbian. If you're like my mum and you were more of a masculine, polarized woman, well then ultimately, if you mix a bit of body dysmorphia in with that, which, let's just look at the social design of the fucking planet, body dysmorphia is rife, man. Because the fucking projected image of what is fucking attractive, what is acceptable, is so smushed around, no one knows. And I mean, it's fucking out there to breed depression, isn't it? To breed mental disorders like body dysmorphia. If you're told on a regular basis that this is the ideal physique for a man and this is the ideal physique for a woman and nothing else will do, and you've got these fucking fake twats all over the internet projecting that, well then what the fuck do you think's going to happen to people's minds? You then throw that in there with something like homosexuality, where people are confused about themselves anyway, because learning about yourself and about your own sexuality, even as a straight man, I questioned my fucking heterosexuality when I was young. Of course I did. We've all fucking done it. We've all watched a fucking football game or a rugby game and thought, fucking hell, he's got a decent set of legs on him. Fucking hell, does that make me gay? Does it? What, because you can appreciate that fucking someone's got a decent set of legs and a nice arse? Maybe what that actually is, as a heterosexual man, is admiration. You look at it and say, well, fucking hell, I'd like his legs and I'd like his fucking backside. You know? Like Lloyd Christmas says in Dumb and Dumber. He must work out. You know, at the end of the day, we all question who we are. We all have those confusing moments as we grow up about our personal identity. And I know many people that have explored these things physically. I never did, but people did. And all power to them. They had the courage to try. Now, at this point, you start adding into that personal identity confusion some body dysmorphia, and then you fan those flames with aggressive, fascist, agenda-driven propaganda. Well, what you've got is what we're fucking faced with right now, in my opinion, which is a fucking war, a civil war regarding what makes a man and what makes a woman. Well, you see, I saw a video the other day, and I'll end on the trans stuff with this. I saw a video the other day of a guy defining what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, and he was having a conversation, a public conversation, at one of these rallies, these fucking public speaking events, with a trans woman. Now, I say trans woman, born a man, okay? He said the definition between a man and a woman is your reproductive organs, because let's face it, I mean, as a slight digression here, to procreate, as I've said at the start of these two videos now, the natural process of things is to procreate, to reproduce, and to inherit the earth, to pass on the earth, our beautiful Mother Earth, to the next generation, and to educate those children to know how to do it properly. You know, so every generation that comes along, we are stronger, and our earth is stronger, and we can have a full-bodied relationship with our surroundings. Now, because there's lots more to life than what we're fucking living right now, that's for damn sure. But anyway, this guy said that that which defines you is technically your reproductive organs and what you're able to do on a natural basis with regards to your reproductive capabilities. Now, ultimately, he said, if a trans woman, so a man who's transitioned into being a woman, goes into the doctors and says, I'm having trouble getting pregnant, would he run the same tests with that person as he would with the natural born woman who's having problems getting pregnant? Well, the answer to that, quite simply, is no. If he did, he'd be a bloody fool. Because not only is he fucking, I don't know, enabling some sort of mental illness at that point, because you'd have to be mentally ill to walk into a doctor's as a trans woman, born a man, and say you're having problems getting pregnant. You'd have to be mentally ill, wouldn't you? You'd have to be so fucking detached from reality that you'd go and see a doctor about that. Because you haven't got a womb, you haven't got ovaries, you haven't got a fucking cervix and a vagina, right? So how the fuck can you get pregnant? So what he was saying is, if a natural born woman has a problem getting pregnant, well, considering the fact that she's got all of the tools to do so and still can't, what that suggests is there's actually a malfunction with those bodily parts, therefore requiring testing to find out what that problem is so they can rectify it and help that woman get pregnant. And that was even if you've got a trans man. So a person born a woman who now identifies as a man, if she hasn't had a hysterectomy, well, then she can still get pregnant, or he can still get pregnant, okay? So in that case, they do the tests. They'd probably say stop taking fucking testosterone, but they do the tests, all right? So that's what defines you as a man or a woman, basically. Whether you've got, or whether you were born with, the body parts to reproduce one way or the other. Now, the argument to this by this trans woman was, well, why should that be the definition? Because, you know, some women can't get pregnant. See above, you know. Doesn't matter whether a woman can't get pregnant or some women can't get pregnant or not. The fact is they were born with the body parts to do so, and by having a malfunction with those body parts doesn't mean that you're not a woman anymore, and by simply saying that you are a woman doesn't make you a woman either. You can say that you're a woman because that's how you identify Christ. That might be how you feel. You might fully believe that you've got the soul of female soul living in a man's body. And that's fine. And you can ask everybody you come across to call you a woman. And maybe everybody you come across does call you a woman. Maybe you get referred to as she. Every single fucking moment of your life, every single person you come across sees you as a woman. They treat you as a woman. You go to the female fucking toilets. Christ, you get sent to jail, you go to a woman's jail. You compete in the fucking Women's Olympics, as fucking arbitrary as that is. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, you're not a woman. You're still a man. You identify as one, but you aren't one. Which is why this is a mental issue and it's not a sexual issue. There are only two genders, which is male and female, man and woman, just like every other natural aspect of life on this fucking planet. That's all there is. You can identify as whatever you fucking want, but that doesn't make you that. Simply by saying that you're a fucking Chinook attack helicopter doesn't bloody well make you one. You can say identify as a tree. Doesn't make you a tree, does it? You weren't grown from a fucking seed out of the ground. No. So you're not a tree. You can feel like a tree. You can empathize with a tree. If you see a tree getting chopped down, you may cry. Christ, psychosomatically, you might even feel the loss of a limb. You may even feel the tree's bloody pain. But you're not a tree, are you? And this is where we land on this. The reason why people have a problem with this issue is because, first and foremost, people are fucking terrified to be attacked by the mob for opening their mouth and saying the truth, for saying the actual facts. You'll be classified as a transphobic. There's nothing phobic about the fucking truth, is there? No. But you can be phobic of the truth. Another inversion tactic to keep people at fucking odds with each other. This is the agenda. It's part of the agenda. It's to split people up. It's to take away the natural process of life and procreation and the inheritance of our planet, so that these people can have it for themselves. They don't want you to have yourself. When they say you will own nothing and be happy, they don't just mean physical shit, do they? They mean you will own nothing and be happy. Nothing. You won't even own yourself, because you don't know yourself. You're so far down a path of schisms that you are now completely at disarray with yourself. This is like the analogy of, you know, the pond. The clear mind, just like the clear, still pond, is what we need in order to see through the bullshit. You lay a book on the bottom of a pond and you allow the water to remain completely still, you will be able to read that book. However, you start throwing rocks into that water, creating ripples. Well, now you can no longer fucking read the book. Now you can no longer see the information. You can't see it for the bullshit. You can't see it. But just like those ripples, man, we are all part of the same body of water. And when somebody throws something aggressively into the mix, like a rock, something of force, well, those ripples fight against one another. They're vying for survival, bashing up against one another, diffusing that clarity. And that's where we are. That's who these people are. They're throwing rocks into the collective body, which is us, the pond. And they're diffusing our ability to have a clarity that gives us the truth. They're refusing us the ability to see through the shit because they just keep throwing rock after rock in there. So what we need to do is, if they just stop fucking reacting. Let's just stop reacting. Let's have conversations with each other. Let's talk to one another and accept that should somebody choose to be a certain way or act a certain way, well, that's okay for them if that's what they want to do. But it's also our choice of whether or not we assimilate that into our own personal worldview, and other people that want us to do so need to accept that if we choose not to, then that's also our choice, and then we can go our separate ways or be friends based on our own fucking opinions and our own perceptions of who we are and who we would prefer people to be. Because we can all choose who we spend time with. It's as simple as that. But that's our choice. We don't need to allow these fucking oligarchs to smash us to smithereens so they can take over the world a little bit quicker than what they probably will do eventually anyway. Make no mistake, this is a fucking war. And they are weaponizing, we're the weapons, and they're weaponizing us against each other. And the further away from the natural aspect of what life is that they can take us, the closer they are to their agenda being fulfilled. Think about it. Where do they want to take us? They want to take us to a completely assimilated fucking non-fucking gendered future where everybody's a fucking robot that doesn't think for themselves, that has absolutely no identity. Communism. It's fucking... It's social Marxism. You know? We're fucking being raw. If you can't see that this is the path to communism, where everybody is the same. We're not just wearing overalls now. Our bodies are the same. Our brains are the same. Fuck me. I tell you what, people like to quote Orwell quite a lot. And the book 1984. By all means, go and read it. I've read it, and I tell you what, it's a grim fucking reality. And who would want to live like that? Guess what? We are. That's where we are right now. That's a fucking holiday camp compared to where we're headed, man. People like to fucking quote Orwell, man, but I tell you what, they think that that's the end game. That's a load of bollocks. If that was the end game, the book wouldn't be on the fucking shelves, my friends. It's the stepping stone. That's the fucking predictive programming that gets us to accept surveillance. That's all. And the decimation of society being at one with each other. That's all that is. Like I said, that's a fucking... I'd rather live there than where we're fucking headed. At least there's still some form of personal identity of who people are. You can still have that thought on your own. You can still be a man and a woman. You can still fucking raise children. But like I said, that's where we are right now. Having our children raised by the state, just like in 1984. You know? You've got kids that are fucking weaponized against their parents. Fuck me, it's the Hitler Youth. That's where we are today, man. The Third Reich never died. It just went underground. Fucking, you know what? Deny it all you want, man. The more you look at all of these connective parts, the more you will see that the shattering of the traditional homestead is a huge part of this global takeover, because as soon as they can get you to believe that you've got to be something other than what you are naturally in order to prove yourself in some fucking schizophrenic nature, some schizophrenic fashion, prove to yourself what you are, well then fucking hell, man. You've got the lunatics running the asylum and they're being praised for it. This place that we live right now is a fucking madhouse. We're living in 1984 right now. There is no fucking that's where we're headed. It's where we are. So what's next? That's what you should be saying. Quote Orwell all you want, but what's next? Because Orwell's old news. Maybe we're headed towards Brave New World. Maybe that's where we're headed. I don't know. He talks about fucking babies being grown in farms. Is that where we're headed? Yes. That is what's suggested, man. You've got these artificial wombs already there. What it means to be a natural human being is being taken away from you. And guess what? We're doing it to ourselves. And what a shame that is, because people are afraid nowadays and see it as being something abhorrent to be their natural fucking selves. I'll tell you this right now. Natural born, sovereign, powerful women and natural born, sovereign, powerful men are the key to the future. Only when we accept that that's who we are and we live as such and we fucking honour each other for who we are individually in our own fucking power, will this world start to turn around? Will people be the army that they were meant to be against the fucking fascistic fucking tyranny that is overbearing and controlling every aspect of our lives right now? Because only through that unity of power and personal fucking strength will anything ever be achieved. Because guess what? We haven't got that right now collectively by design. And I say by design because it is. It's that design which is pushing every single person on this fucking planet, whether you are a fighter now or not, There's not enough of us fighting. It's pushing us all closer to their agenda, which is complete and absolute fucking power, where we actually own nothing, not even ourselves. So they can have it all for themselves and rule absolutely. I mean, you look at it this way, you just go, I'll finish on this. However many years ago with the traditional homestead, you had half the people going to work. The men. Now they've got everybody going to work. The way they rule first and foremost is through the money in their back pockets. Now they've got twice the workforce. That's by design, which means they've got twice the finance. That also means they've got twice the power, because now they've got the leverage to get you to give away your fucking children to the state so they can be assimilated as the next fucking flock into the farm. And I say twice the power because you've got two people now at work having to fucking earn a living, which means they're in the system doing as they're fucking told, unable to raise the next generation of people properly with personal power, as opposed to being indoctrinated into believing that the power lies in the few as opposed to the many. And on that note, I'm going to wish love and peace to all things everywhere. This is Crag Course signing off. There's a lot more I could say on this issue. And maybe, well, definitely, we'll touch on this again. But for now, peace.